Welcome to VisionPlusMag.com, the #1 eyewear portal to eye care and eyewear fashion, and you are watching In Focus, where our conversations take center stage. Today, we have Mr. Ketan Parikh, the Managing Director of Sterling Meta Plast, as our guest. To start with, Mr. Parikh, can you take us back to the beginning when Sterling began?
So Sterling began in 1984. Previously, my father used to run many retail stores in the city of Dhanbad and Jharia, erstwhile Bihar, now called Jharkhand. And we moved to Mumbai in '76 when I was a small child. And we started export of automobile spare parts and diesel engines, a small part of eyewear. Having seen some headwinds over there, we decided to concentrate on domestic business, and that's how we thought about eyewear business. And so we forayed into distribution of eyewear in 1984 with my uncle Ketan Parikh and my elder brother Ketan Parikh. And I joined at the age of 17, just fresh out of school, immediately head on into this business, while also completing my graduation simultaneously. So yeah, it's 1984 was the first year when we started. And then erstwhile we didn't know what was eyewear business, we didn't have relationship in the market, we were learning what is plastic, what is nitrate, what is acetate, what is metals. It took a couple of years to understand really what was the business. And we started the eyewear business slowly with selling into the closer states of Kerala, Gujarat and surrounding states. And gradually we started distribution of the brands that we used to buy from the local market and Indian brands from the local market in the initial period of time.
Did you anticipate or predict Sterling to achieve such significant success?
So way back after 2-3 years of the business, we realized that if you really want to grow in business, if you really want to grow in profitability, the right thing would be to buy products that were not made in India, because too many people were selling Indian products. And then we decided to foray into going to Hong Kong in the first trip, starting to buy some products from Hong Kong. And then gradually we realized that brands made sense. And so we started traveling to London at a very young age of 2021. And of course, during that period, we met Mr. Naveen Shah of Hilton Conti, who helped us in the initial part. And then, of course, the main big jump was when we went to Luxottica. And we started working with them in the first year with Luxottica brand in India. A few months down the line, they decided that there were too many small buyers in India, and they decided they needed to go ahead with one of them only. And luckily I was at the right place at the right time with a fresh perspective of life, and we became exclusive Luxottica distributors for India. And the first brand that they launched was Vogue. So I can proudly say that Vogue brand was launched by Sterling. Or earlier days we used to be known as Skylark Optical Company. So it was launched by Skylark Optical Company in India way back in 1991. So that was the beginning of our business with Luxottica. And gradually we saw Luxottica moving from a small family-owned company to one of the largest conglomerates that it is today. And our journey has been very similar to them in the first initial years. So we started with Giorgio Armani in '93, followed by Emporio Armani, Valentino, Jenny, Persol, Moschino, a sports brand, Sergio Tacchini, Brooks Brothers, and most of the brands from Luxottica for the first 9 years were exclusively dealt by us in India. And the company that we are known today as Sterling Group was actually launched as a separate eyewear company to handle the distribution of Luxottica brands in India. So that was way back in 1990. So 1990 to 2002, we had a glorious period with the Luxottica brands. Simultaneously, we also dealt with a few smaller brands like Maserati, Rochas, Philippe Chariot in those years. And what happened in '99 was that Luxottica acquired the global brand Ray-Ban, and they got access to a factory in India, Rajasthan, and a public listed company. At that point in time, we felt that we could have to have looking at something additional besides Luxottica brands, because eventually 2.5 years down the line, Luxottica decided that they need to integrate their Ray-Ban Optics subsidiary with the Luxottica brands for distribution of all their products in India. And in May 2002, they announced to the public at Miro that henceforth Sterling will no longer be continuing the distribution, but Luxottica will sell to all the operations in India directly.
How does a distribution company deal with losing brands like this?
So important thing in life is that nothing is permanent, right? And while we are having the brand, we need to ride the brand wagon and enjoy the journey. So we have realized one thing in life, that all the global brands, they have a licensing pack for maybe 5 to 10 years. And the brands either keep rotating between different companies, and in the current scenario, most brands are probably coming into the eyewear business directly. So definitely when we lost Luxottica, it was a massive loss, because we had worked 90%, 70%, 80% of our business was Luxottica. And then gradually once they bought Ray-Ban, we realized that we need to have something alternative. So that's how the private label business was born, and then how Collin business was also born. So I think what in life we have learned is not to keep all eggs in one basket, and ideally always have some sort of a backup. Having said that, it is not necessarily that you will reach the numbers immediately. So yes, we have seen a wave. So we started at a small wave, then we saw a wave slowly growing up, and of course with Luxottica it was a big wave. When Luxottica went away, we saw the business going away about 70%. So we had to reinvent again and start with Maron brands and Collin brands to get back. But this is the journey of a distribution business and a licensing business. What stays with us is our house brand. So today we can proudly say that our house brands really contribute to, let's say, bread and butter, right? Something that doesn't go away because we own them. At the same time, some licensing brands will do very well for a particular period of time. Some brands like Tommy Hilfiger will continue to do well, or Calvin Klein will continue to do well for a longer period of time. And Calvin Klein, I would say, is part with Maron since the day they launched it. So we are selling also Calvin Klein since 20 years, and I believe for another few years the licensing continues. So some businesses have a very long period. Some businesses have a very short period. Like Tom Ford, we had to give up Tom Ford because we joined hands with Maron, and Collin was a little uncomfortable about it. So it was not something that we would love to give it up, but then when you have a partner and you have a distribution business, so different. So yeah, challenges are part of life. It's how you manage them and how you overcome them. And the thought process is very clear. What do you need is basically your house brands, your organic brands, that will definitely keep a certain business and certain profit structure with you. And the other brands will come and go, and it's part of our optical distribution and licensing life, which we have now come to accept. It's tough when you lose something, but I'm sure the next day God will give you something better, and that's how the journey has been. So yeah, so in all, I can really say that it's been a beautiful journey from wherever we were till what we were at a later stage and what we are today. We have only seen a growth curve with some dips in some few years when we lost some of the brands. But yeah, overall, India is growing, we are growing, and I think the way Indian economy is growing, I see next decade to be beautiful. So I'm sure, I don't know about 40 years, but I'm sure we'll celebrate another 10 years very soon with you in a very, very grander way.
The transition from Luxottica to Collin, would you call it destiny?
Collin came to India looking for a distributor, and we were fortunate. They found us and we joined hands with them. And in '99 we signed up with them for Dolce & Gabbana and D&G. And in early 2002 at the exhibition, we launched Dolce & Gabbana from Collin in India. And I guess it was destiny as well as a right move. So we were very fortunate that we got the backup of Collin in '99. And then gradually with Collin we launched the other brands of Roberto Cavalli, Just Cavalli, and then Tom Ford at a later stage.
How did brand Sterling as a company align with a global giant like Maron?
After losing Luxottica, the biggest positive that what happened to Sterling was Maron was looking for a distributor in India, and Maron had no presence in India. And 6 months after losing Luxottica, we signed up with Maron US, a New York-based company, for distribution of Calvin Klein and Nike eyewear in India. So in January 2003, we launched Nike and Calvin Klein eyewear with a big fashion show in Taj, Delhi, and JW Marriott, which was one of the most talked about shows at that point in time. That happened almost 21 years ago. So we were fortunate that we lost one giant, but then we got another two large companies, superly large companies in the global order, and we were able to bring their brands to India. And the journey with Collin continued, and then we added more and more brands. So I would say that simultaneously with Dolce & Gabbana, we realized that India needed a very strong private label portfolio because everybody was selling everything common from Far East. And we decided to distinguish ourselves with our own designs, with our own private logos like we do. We realized with Luxottica, the brand has a different presence and a different story altogether. So that's the story of the brands, which we can talk more in detail. But yeah, so that was the beginning, and then the Luxottica story and the Maron and Collin story to begin with.
40 years of Sterling is a huge landmark. Mr. Parikh, how do you plan to celebrate it?
So definitely, we don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but definitely Sterling will celebrate 40 years in its normal flamboyant style. Definitely you will be invited for that event. So please keep waiting, and we'll definitely share our plans very soon of what we want to do but I'm sure it's 40 years is going to be a grand celebration before the end of this year.
What is your vision for the next 40 years going forward?
Yes, so I would like to thank each and every of our opticians for the last 40 years. Definitely, it should announce, I won't say 40 years, but definitely we can talk about next 20 years. Sterling's vision is very clear that it continues to dominate the eyewear space, and it continues to be an important partner to all our opticians and in giving them the best products and value for money, and then something that they can make a lot of money with us, as we have been always a partner to the opticians, never been so much of a retail space. So they look upon us as a very strong support and we give them the best brands at the best prices. So I think that will be the journey that we continue. We'll also want to see some of our private labels becoming really, really big and maybe going global also.
So Mr. Parikh, your organic brand Scott is among the forerunners in its category. Can you tell us more about your plans for its future?
So I think in the journey we have learned that to be different, you really needed to create your own identity. So way back, working with Luxottica, that opened our eyes, that also mentioned that we need to be different, we need to be focused on what we have, and we need to own something that we have. That is the right way to get the right valuation, that's the right way to get the right attendance, and the right way to get the right eyeball of any of our customers. So in 98, we launched two of our private label brands called Sterling and Spencer. By then, Miss World Yukta Mukhi, who was Miss India at that point in time. And then in 2002, we launched one of our most iconic brands called Scott, and we had a soft launch for Sprint. Scott today is one of the top 5 brands in this country at the very affordable price points. The designs are super fashionable. It appeals to somebody who is an 8-year-old child to maybe an 80-year-old grandmother, because our brand has enough space for everything. So anybody who wants to feel young at heart always will look for a Scott brand, because it doesn't matter the age, it's beyond age. Of course, having said that, the core focus is always going to be 18 to 35 years old, which is nearly 55% of the India's population. And I can say today proudly that designing is one of our key elements of our Scott brand, which separates us from the shop. You take a Scott product, you will not say that it is this copy or this copy. It has its own identity, it has its own strong logo, it has its own special ribbon colors designed. And so even tomorrow, the whole idea is that if you just see the ribbon, then you should know that it's a Scott brand, that even though it does not have a Scott logo or Scott on it. The identity of the Scott is something that we will carry on and will become strong. In terms of marketing, we've always been innovative in terms of marketing. One of the things that we've learned globally is from Calvin Klein that the look and feel always has to be sexy. It has to be cool, it has to be smart, it has to be, again, simple, not overtly loud, but it has to be really out there. And so far, whatever campaigns that we have shot beginning in Italy to current brand ambassadors that we had, Anil Kapoor, Sonam Kapoor, the current heartthrob of India, Ananya Pandey and Siddharth Malhotra, all of them embody the same spirit, that it's cool, young, fashionable, and it very well matches with the spirit of Scott brand.
Can we expect more such organic brands from Sterling?
So basically, we had another house brand called Sprint, which was similar to Scott in the earlier years. What we are repositioning the brand is that it's going to be next sports brand. As India becomes more conscious about their health, and you see most of the youngsters now going to gyms, going for walking, jogging, marathon. We want Sprint to be there, to be the first choice of somebody who wants a very good, fashionable as well as sporty looking product, but very focused on lifestyle. So whether you're running, whether you're cycling, whether you're on a boat, so with polarized lenses, so any kind of an activity driven business, we would love consumers to look at Sprint as an alternative brand, because it's going to be, so Scott is going to be very fashionable, very youth driven, very focused, and Sprint is going to be more like a, you can say, any bigger sports brand of the world, but very affordable price points.
What's the secret to the phenomenal success of your licensing brands?
Sterling was one of the first few companies who went into licensing business. I think so. The biggest brands that we got today, and biggest brands that have become, really second, third level position globally in Indian specific market, is one of the brands which is closest to our heart, is Tommy Hilfiger. So Tommy Hilfiger was launched in the year 2004 and 2005 in India, and today I can proudly say in 20 years down the line, is second largest eyewear brand in India in terms of revenue, in terms of numbers, and the pure reason for that is, one, of course, Tommy is a global giant, global brand, but what we bring on the table is also the market knowledge. So we know what the consumers want, we know what they want, and we add value to the brand, taking design inputs, keeping the brand heritage in place, and making the product absolutely suitable for India, which takes it to a different level. Today, Tommy is probably available at every door where some of the top brands are available. So we can proudly say that Sterling has been instrumental in changing the face, and probably Tommy Hilfiger eyewear is maybe after US, India would be the second largest country in terms of revenue and sales. So we can proudly say that Sterling has been instrumental in doing that, and we have spent 2 decades with the brand, and we look forward to many more, but that's one of the big feather in our cap for Tommy Hilfiger. And the same we have done for other brands, even French Connection London, FC UK is another brand that have been distributing for 10-11 years, as same as the license theories, and it's doing phenomenally well, and I'm sure there's a lot of business and scope to grow. So in addition to our distribution part of the business, and in addition to what we bring on the table with Maron in helping Maron design special projects for India, for some special brands, I think besides our house brands of Scott, Sprint, Sterling, I would say that Tommy Hilfiger has been something that has been a super successful story, and so has been French Connection.
What has your collaborative experience with Maron been so far?
So I think before that I go into Dell. So basically I started with saying that Maron and us became a distributor way back in 2002, and we launched the brand in 2003. What happened in the ensuing a decade was that Maron became very comfortable with Sterling as a distributor, and they decided that they need to take the next step forward for the Indian market. So in 2013, Sterling and Maron became partners. So we sold a part of stake of Sterling to Maron. So currently today Sterling is now partnering with Maron, who's headquartered in New York, and the parent company is called VSP, Vision. So the reason of joining hands with Maron is very clear, because both of us are testament to our commitment to global experience with local expertise. So basically Maron is a global design house and global distribution for brands like Calvin Klein, Nike, Lacoste, Lagerfeld, Ferragamo, and many others. What we bring on table as Sterling is that we have the absolute local knowledge, the market knowledge of what is needed for the Indian consumers. So bringing that together with the synergies of the global giant, we could deliver to our and to satisfaction of our customers the values of care, diversity, unity, and design and brand process. So all put together, we became much stronger because we had the global brands, we had the Indian insights. So now we could deliver to the Indian consumers and the customers exactly what they want with the global brand in place.
Mr. Parikh, could you share your views on the local markets and your insights on the growth potential of India's optical industry?
I think India has been growing, I would say, an average of 10 to 12% over last many years. I don't see that change happening anytime. Yes, the players have changed. Of course, the larger players, the large chain stores becoming stronger and stronger at the cost of smaller stores. But I would say being in such a large country, there is place for everyone. While the large chain stores and department stores will continue to thrive. At the same time, the smaller opticians who do a phenomenal good service, who are next door to your residence and who absolutely have a right product mix to offer to their customers will continue to thrive in this industry. I think the opticians, the single pop and mom stores, the department stores, the online part of the business and the large chain stores are here to stay very much in India with such a large population that we have. You need to make sure that you adapt to the new technology and you reinvent yourself, and for sure you need to have the right product mix based on your customers.
If you had one suggestion to offer to your retail partners to help them combat the threat from online retail, what would that be, Mr. Parikh?
My suggestion to most of my opticians today is that having your product or having yourself on an online place for marketing is absolutely essential. People will only look at you today, the youngsters will look at you provided you have your own website, you have your own details. You need to have your prices open, unlike in the past where prices were hidden. You need to have a barcode very much open in your retail stores. Whether your business will come by selling online or offline, I feel that online will only add some value to your business. It may not be 100% that the business will happen online. Ours is a very product which is touch, feel, and especially for prescription, it's not absolutely easy to do completely online. As you see, all the companies that have been successful so far in India are also having a strong offline presence together with an online. So if you have an online presence, it will drive the customers to your store, but for sure the conversion can happen to a large extent at the offline channel. So I would definitely suggest each and every opticians to have their websites, have their online presence, just for marketing, really speaking, more than sales, because that will help them definitely compete with these larger players.
Mr. Parikh, the last question we'd like to ask you is, among all the brands you've built excluding your organic brands, what's the one brand that's memorable to you?
So it would be wrong on my part to say one memorable brand, but I would say top 5 brands that are close to me. Of course, the first brand that is close to me is Luxottica and Vogue, because that really kicked the Sterling journey up in a different direction. Then after that came Calvin Klein, that really kicked us also in the other journey. In between we had Dolce & Gabbana, Tom Ford, that took us to a different level. You didn't ask for organic brands, so I'm not mentioning the organic brands. But yes, Armani, Luxottica, Vogue, Calvin Klein, and Tommy Hilfiger. These are my 5 closest brands to my heart, which I think has really pulled the company from wherever it was to the next level. All brands are very important, but these are the 5 brands that really catapulted us to the next level. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.